Hello and welcome to the CX Files podcast for the 10th of November 2022. My name's Mark Hillary and I'm in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
And I'm Peter Ryan in Montreal, Mark. However, watch this space. I will be over in the UK actually seeing you next week and attending a number of interesting events.
Yeah, certainly. I've got beers lined up with several friends of ours and lots of meetings. I'm going to be at the Engaged Customer event. So I will be actually around at one big CX event and the rest of the time meeting various people in the industry.
Yeah, likewise. I'll be attending a luncheon that's being put on by Enterprise Georgia in central London on the 17th, which is going to bring together a number of leading BPO and CX executives, and really can't wait to attend the European Contact Center Awards that'll be happening on the 22nd in downtown London. Certainly a gala event if there ever was one in the CX space, and watch for many James Bond lookalikes to come out in their tuxedos that night.
Well, good thing I'm avoiding that one. I guess they probably wouldn't let me in wearing a hoodie or anything.
Well, I know that you've got your favorite powder blue tuxedo with the ruffles from circa 1977. You know, the stuff that high school proms in the late 1970s, the nightmares were made of. But at the same time, you know, there's always the 2023 awards.
We'll go for that then. Yeah, I'll check out my Austin Powers fashion guide.
Very good. I might join you in that one. That could be a lot of fun. Well, you know, talking about fashionable individuals, today we are speaking with, I think, one of the most interesting individuals I've come across in my career, and that's Jonathan Steiman. Now, Mark, Jonathan agreed to come on our podcast for a chat to talk a little bit about his journey as not just the founder and CEO of Peak Support, but as an entrepreneur in the CX space, as an entrepreneur in the BPO side of the business. Now, for full disclosure, Jonathan and I were workmates, work friends and colleagues at Data Monitor for several years. I got to know Jonathan when he was working on the financial services analysis team at Data Monitor. He was working out of the New York office. Our paths diverged. I would say perhaps around the 2009-2010 point. That said, he found his way to work as an executive in the outsourcing space and eventually went on to found his own outsourcing firm, Peak Support. And it was great to catch up with Jonathan live recently. He attended the CX Outsourcers Conference in Las Vegas, and that was really the impetus for putting together this podcast. We hear a lot about people in the CX space, Mark, as you know, who found their own technology companies or who get involved perhaps at the platform or the service level. What Jonathan has done by going out and founding an outsourcing firm is great news because A, we can use more individuals like Jonathan and his team who are prepared to deliver the best possible CX outcomes. But equally speaking, I think it provides a lot of impetus for the entrepreneurs that are interested in that frontline delivery end of things, not just the technology side, but the actual front lines. And the opportunities are clearly out there, as Jonathan and the team at Peak Support have demonstrated.
Yeah, well, that's great. To hear about his story and his journey. I can remember listening to Daniel Julien talking about how he started Teleperformance, and it was sort of half a dozen people answering phones in a room, and has now grown over decades to be hundreds of thousands of people. And I can also remember sort of 20 years ago when I was working in India, just seeing so many startups. Just getting in an office, getting some people in there, getting on the phones. And it seemed, I don't know, it seemed so much more simple back then. So it's really interesting to hear from someone who's kind of launched a business in this area after being an analyst, writing about the business, and then diving in and creating a new business, but within the last few years as well.
And I think that that's it from my standpoint. The fact that Jonathan did come from the analyst background, that he was able to launch the business and he was did it in such a pure entrepreneur form. I think the Danielle Julien example is fantastic. And there's other great entrepreneurs, many of whom that we've had on the pod. Cheryl Parwater is a recent example. We've had Jason Heil, who is the co-founder of Redial BPO. There's another example. And Jonathan is one of the members of this exclusive club, in my opinion. And it's a club that we all hope that we can see get bigger. One of the questions that I asked Jonathan about is that, is there enough room in the industry right now for more entrepreneurs to start up? And emphatically, he was very enthusiastic about this. It's not an exclusive club, or it shouldn't be an exclusive club. It should be one that's open to anybody who's got the desire to try and do their best in excelling to deliver the best possible customer experience outcomes. And not only I think we will find Jonathan's chat informative, but also very inspiring.
Oh, that's excellent. And there's so much change going on right now. I've often wondered if the next wave of CX experts will come from the technology industry rather than the traditional customer service industry. So I think that we're seeing a big, crash in the middle of technology changing CX. But many of the traditional customer service companies are becoming experts in the technology as well.
It's very true. It's very true. And what we're seeing finally is this intersection between the delivery of frontline outcomes and the technology that's supporting it. And to my mind, when I got into this industry, they were very much siloed. And now we can see that that element of almost parallel development is now intersecting, and that's good. This convergence is going to be very good for the industry. We need to have technology experts that understand the science around great outcomes, and we need to have frontline executives that understand the technology that are going to enable them.
Okay, great. So why don't we go straight to your conversation recorded with John Steiman from Peak Support.
Well, the CX Files this week is really fortunate to have Jonathan Steiman on our hot seat. And for those who don't know, and I'm guessing that's the bulk of people, Jonathan and I have quite a history. We go way back to the mid-2000s when we both worked together as analysts at a market research company. Jonathan, it's great to have you on the line. Thanks so much for joining us in your new role, or not new role, but in your current role as the CEO and founder of Peak Support.
Well, good morning, Peter. I'm thrilled to be here. Yeah, in fact, you played a very significant role in my understanding of the outsourcing world. So we met at an analyst house, data monitor, in the right around or before the crash of 2009. So I mean, like a massive moment in our professional lives, and we were far younger then and living through this. And I had no background in tech or insurance, and I was covering the insurance technology space. Mm-hmm. And I wrote a paper. I dove into it, interviewed a bunch of people, researched a bunch of people, and wrote a paper on business process outsourcing in the life insurance space, policy admin systems, and all of that. And so I kind of filed that away and remembered that, and moved on and started a job at a startup. It was called Talk To, and we I was an employee there. I was just hired there, and first day get connected to this fully remote team in the Philippines and in Colombia and in Jamaica. And so start working with this team and really start forming this relationship with these 4 women in the Philippines, Bianca, Judes, Hazel. And over 2 years, we start to build up this concierge service that was delivering this incredible service. And at the time, it was kind of in my mind, like, oh, this is a little bit of a, of a BPO. Like, we were captive inside of a company and we were doing one product, but that idea of that incredible group of professionals in large volumes, teams of 100 that have to do this critical process, fully remote global distribution. And that is, you play a role in that early. I mean, I remember talking to you, and you were one of the people I interviewed about what is BPO, and back in 2008, 2009.
And here we are now, both self-styled entrepreneurs in the BPO industry, and I think this is such a good news story. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is because there's a real entrepreneurial segment I find in outsourcing. But when you get right down to it, John, from your perspective, as somebody who has come up literally from very little background in outsourcing to getting involved with an outsourcer and starting your own company, what do you think it means to be an entrepreneur in this space?
Yeah, great question. So it's kind of a geeky answer, but I'm very particular about the term entrepreneur. Can't drop the name of the book because I can't remember, but I'm going to guess it may have been Peter Drucker book, where he defines what an entrepreneur is and makes it very clear that, the successful business owner in a town, maybe it's a restaurant or a dry cleaner, that's a small business. That's not an entrepreneurial venture. And there's very, very, very few entrepreneurs, and those are defined as the ones that are creating something new in the space, doing something entirely different. So when I think about like that term entrepreneur and me inside of this world, in some senses, I'm more that traditional operator, maybe not earning that title of entrepreneur, because BPO existed. BPO existed. It's when we started peak support, it could have been a $50 billion global industry. And now it's $100 billion global industry. And there were a number of players there. And then the kind of disruptive thing that we did, and where that entrepreneurial moniker could work, is in the way that we delivered the operation. So we were remote first. So when we started peak support in 2015, everything that we did was remote. So how you win clients and interact with clients, how you recruit, train, onboard, support, do performance management, deliver reports, all of the payroll process, all of the compliance process, everything we had was built remote first, and just did it really well. And at the time we did it, anyone that was coming in for work didn't think of a remote first company as being a real career opportunity. And clients that come in didn't think, a remote operation can be better than one. It had a kind of a second-class citizen deal. And so we have just done that so well. So, all the way that we recruit, train, onboard, and support the team, we have like these incredible survey results, incredible attrition rates, like just super strong there. And then you look at our clients and what we're delivering for them, and our uptime and the quality of service, and it's all in this fully distributed model.
So as somebody who started their own business and has been doing this for several years now, John, what have been the biggest surprises since you set up your own BPO?
Yeah, great question. Well, obviously, the constant global shocks. So you set up your company, and you go through a pandemic, and then first time ever, and it's back to that moment in 07, 08, 09, where we were together, and it's like, oh my God, we're in New York City, and it's a global financial crisis like we'd never lived through. So you just start realizing that every few years you're just living through something new that you've never lived through. And then you look back at history and say, oh, well, actually, humans have lived through this, and you adapt that to the business. Would be, I would say, the biggest learning.
Interesting, interesting. So one of the things that I think if you were to survey most people with a limited knowledge on the outsourcing in the CX sector would probably tell you when you ask them to describe this industry, to describe this market, they would probably indicate that it's got a reputation for being dominated by a small number of very large organizations, which is understandable. I think there's a lot of people that would probably have that impression in their minds. But as somebody who's now been working in the space for a number of years and been innovating and finding a lot of cool clients, do you find that as an emerging player, there's enough business to go around to effectively allow new entrants to make a go of it?
Yeah, sure. So it's funny. I thought you were going somewhere else with the, if you talk to somebody and they don't know anything about this space, it's amazing how little people understand about this. It's like, okay, imagine that you are just, that pair of pants you're buying from a high-end online retailer. When you bought those, you may have had an interaction with a customer service team.
Yeah.
In order for that company to do that, that is a 50-person operation. Oh, wow, I didn't know that. Like, it never occurred to me it was that big. Yeah, these are big operations. And then how do you cover that for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with really good quality responses, timely, accurate, delightful responses from those agents, associates, all of the technology stack that goes into it to make it either really good, good crisp sound, good CRM, so you have all the information at hand, or really bad, bad audio, agent doesn't know anything, they're passing it off. And so I think that's the impression people have. They don't understand that this is just a really interesting, big, complex operation, and that businesses all over the world need this expertise. And that's what this is. This is expertise in that customer experience, that back office process, that high volume process, would be my that. And then to the question of, is there business here? So yes, there is it's a pretty large market. It's growing stably. And then if you look at all of the work that is still inside of companies, that's twice as big as all the work that is in the BPO space. So you start to think, oh wow, that's a pretty big opportunity. So there's plenty of business. It just comes down to how good you are. How amazing are the teams you build, the people you bring to the table? How much do you care about the quality of service you deliver? How much do you care about understanding that client's business and how the work that you're doing impacts them? And it's this perfect partnership that says, if you deliver great service, the clients that we work with are going to be stronger. If they're stronger, we are stronger. And I think that's what's missing a lot. Like when we get on the line and we're talking to new opportunities, there's a lot of that lower quality service out there getting delivered. And if you're delivering a really good high quality service and you're investing into the team, the people, the processes, the technology, you have a right to win. And that's where we are right now.
So that segues really well into the last question I had. And that really is the whole idea about what an entrepreneur needs to think about, what they need to consider, what advice you would give somebody looking to start up their own CX operation in the BPO space. If you could think of one golden rule that you believe would be most apt, what would it be, John?
The golden rule, if you were to start and you want to be successful in this space, by putting the clients and the team first. So you have to deliver for your clients. We have a core value of client first. Everything we have to do, we have to deliver for that client, and a core value of commitment to team. You cannot deliver for that client. You cannot show up and dive in for that client if you do not have a strong team, a team where there's transparency and and you're investing into training and you're making decisions in an unbiased way, and you are fair and compensation and benefits are fair and clear, you can't deliver for that client. So it's by putting those two things first and out front results in a successful company.
Well, it has been fascinating talking to you, Jonathan, to hear about how Peak Support has evolved. And let me congratulate you as somebody who's a former coworker and a longtime friend. It's wonderful, I think, what you've done. It was great to see you recently at CX Outsourcers. A great representation at the event.
That was an excellent event, and thank you for doing that. That was, it's one of those moments where you're so in your own world, and you need to get out and you need to hear what other people are saying, and you need to hear other challenges people are having, and that was a solid day. So I was very grateful to be included in that.
Well, we appreciate you participating, as well as John, who represented your company as well. Watch out for more information on 2023. We will be giving some details relatively soon. But in the meantime, thanks for taking some time to chat with us today on the CX Files.
Thank you so much, Peter. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the CX Files podcast. We really appreciate your feedback and suggestions. You can reach myself, Mark Hillary, or Peter Ryan via LinkedIn. Please also leave a rating or review on your favorite podcast provider, as that helps more people to find us. As always, we'd like to thank Chris Haig at Traction Media for the CX Files graphics. See you next week.